Welcome to IQ HitList. I'm Vishwas Sadashivan. IQ HitList is Inconvenient Questions one-on-one interview that explores the views of an individual that you want to see or we think you want to see. My guest today has the audacity to call himself the fish, even though he's human. He's human, at least by appearance. When I first met him, I thought he was a nutcase. Today, after 20 years, I know he's a nutcase. He's loud, he's opinionated, he's passionate and outrageous in thought and deed. He even posed nude for a photograph. Can you imagine that? And he doesn't have that great a body. Although he claims he was wearing a swimming trunk then. So, does this quintessential Abeng have any redeeming qualities? Well, maybe some. By Singapore standards, he got a first-class honours degree in business administration, and he does give lectures at MBA courses. He successfully converted his father's pig farm into one of the biggest ornamental fish farms in the world, and is today executive chairman and managing director of this public listed company, which also happens to be doing quite well. For me, what hits you most about this big fish is that he's hopelessly authentic. And he still describes himself as a small fry and continues to speak without filters and says outrageous things like, love your mom like you would your mistress. That's absolutely outrageous. Kenny Yap is his name, and he's executive chairman and managing director of Qianhu Corporation. Kenny.
Hi.
I am terrified to have you here.
I'm equally terrified that I know you for so many years that one-to-one you have to interview me or you have to talk to me in front of camera. We usually have conversation in the toilet.
Okay, let's not tell too many state secrets. Okay? Now, do you remember, by the way, Kenny and I, we go out for drinks quite often with a bunch of other nutcases, right? Some of them are holding key positions in society.
Yes.
We shan't mention names. So we're out there, and what I find really interesting is that, I don't know whether you've noticed it, I'm the only mama in the entire group, right?
Right.
And we have about 20 people in the group, and the only mama, and we just fit right in.
Right.
And what do you call me affectionately? Tell the camera. What do you call me?
I call you a mama.
Look, mama.
I call him my mama brother.
And he's my China sister. No, brother.
Oh!
No, but really at the end of the day, right? You went to Chinese medium school, right?
Right.
You went to what? Chinese high?
Yeah, I was graduate from Chinese high school.
Chinese high school, and so most of the people you grew up with were obviously Chinese.
Yes.
Right? What's your own sense of multi-racialism? You know, all this talk about multi-racialism, multiculturalism and so on. What's your take on it?
I think, you know, when I was growing up in my kampong area, the consciousness about racial issue was not there. Because, you know, you have some Indian people who can speak perfect Hokkien. And, you know, we also mingle with, you know, some Malays. And we do not have this kind of consciousness about you have this kind of religion and I have this kind of culture. We just play around, and then it was a very cordial kind of relationship then. But when people brought up certain kind of consciousness and people start behaving as such, then suddenly you have this kind of segregation about, oh, you have this kind of belief and I have this kind of cultures. So I find that right now, I don't know, the consciousness of being your own race or your own cultures is a good thing for a multiracial society. I find that maybe we should be colorblind first and treat people as such first,
but
rather
accept people. I mean, for example, clearly when you look at me, you know that I'm not Chinese.
Right.
Right? And you need to just accept that I'm Indian and not go beyond that.
You see, the problem of many people nowadays is when they want to make friends with you, usually they will check the background, you know, what kind of title you have, then they will bring out a ruler to measure whatever size you have. And they make conscious decisions to make friends. But the most genuine way of making friends is to look at the people. If you like him, you have chemistry. who cares whether they have a multi-millionaire or they are cleaner? You just like him as your friend. And then sometimes after knowing many wealthy people and very the high-class atta people, I think sometimes so much more fun to having some drinks with blue-collar workers and some people, just simple people sitting in a coffee shop and then drinking certain kind of a beer or cheap beer.
Yeah, cheap beer. Yeah,
it's so fun.
No, but you see, and for me, that's what I've picked up from you, honestly. I mean, you are successful in your business, but when we have the gathering with our friends, and many of them are holding key positions, what's important is you set the tone in the discussion. Nobody cares about what the other person is doing. This measurement of sizes and things like that. Nobody cares. But how do you think society has become that?
Okay.
Our society.
I think it's
because it wasn't always like that, right?
It's because people start comparing things, and the bringing out of individuals has not given them the confidence to be themselves. Because if you can be yourself and then you know who you are and what you want to do, usually you have certain level of confidence to make friends with all kinds of people. However, if you the bringing up is a certain kind of lack of certain values and you lack of certain confidence, what you always want is to have somebody who has bigger title than you and you befriend with him so that your status kind of elevated accordingly. You know what I mean?
And this whole concept nowadays, if you go to MBA and all these schools, everybody emphasizes networking. You have to network. Personally, for me, I'm sick of this term networking. I mean, as far as people like you and I are concerned, many of our friends are concerned, it's about making friendships, right?
All right. You see, I presume that my network is quite wide, and I know exactly why it is such. Because when I started business, nobody know me. I do not know anybody. If I find that
nobody wanted to know you.
Yeah. So if I think that somebody is interesting, and then when we started to have certain kind of conversations, and then we kind of like each other, we make it a point to keep in touch. And last time, the keeping in touch is not about email. It's making a phone call, actual phone call, and actual having a coffee, together. Yeah. So we kind of brought up together quite naturally without thinking about each other titles, because I was nobody and there was like a small entry-level official in some of the step board.
Yep.
Then eventually they become CE.
Yeah, exactly.
And I listed my company. But we don't care about that, but we care about how we met. So when I started the gathering that you involved, it was about somebody having certain kind of reason for me to celebrate. I say, okay, why don't we come together? And then eventually I say, okay, I think I have a good friend. I want you to know him. And then slowly expanded. From 4 or 5 people to now about 30 people.
30 people. Yes.
So it's a very natural process. Networking is not a structured process. Building creativity, entrepreneur, it's not a structured process. It must be a very natural process, and the intention and the beginning part must be the right attitude, rather than having a hidden agenda behind. If you have a hidden agenda behind before you make friends, people after a while will know it, and they'll be on guard.
They'll be on guard. Absolutely, and the trust level will go down.
Yes.
Right? Now, a lot of these things, Kenny. I remember in some of our earlier conversations, you had said a lot of these values, and in your book that you wrote, you talked about family values.
Right.
It comes from your family, right?
Right.
Your mom, you still live with your mom, and your siblings.
Yep.
What is it that connects you so strongly to those values and your family?
You see, my father, before I started doing business, my father told me this: before you learn how to do business, learn how to be a human being, which is humanity. And humanity is about taking care of family, taking care of parents, taking care of my siblings, put their interests sometimes in front of you before your own interests. So this kind of thing is my upbringing. And I benefited a lot from that.
And you were the only
I'm the youngest in my family.
And you're the only one who was sent on a graduate.
Yes.
sent for a degree. How come?
Okay, because my brother. Okay, I think male chauvinism evolved from agriculture sectors, where the parents usually treasure strength more than ideas and all things.
Yeah.
So
Physical strength.
Yeah, physical strength.
Yeah.
So my elder brothers, most of them have not completed their PSLB. I know why, because nobody guide them in their homework, so usually they fail. But my father didn't really care much, because if you can't really study, come back, because I need your help.
I need labor.
To rear, labor, to rear the pigs and all thing. So by the time most of all my brothers are smarter than me. But I think the urgency of me helping in the farm was not that great. Although I still have to help up in the farm, I have to wash the pig before I go for my study, primary school time. I have a lot of time to read books and then do the things I like and all things. So
because you're the youngest.
So and I think I was lucky in that sense, and at the same time, it's the fate. I think a lot of things happen is fate. Nobody engineered this, but certain times, certain circumstances that something happens to you, you change to another thing. So for my case, I'm very lucky. And then my brothers was not that lucky. This is why I always have a great sense of taking care of them, because they have been deprived of something. Male chauvinism happened in my family, and most of my sisters deprived of something. You know what I did? Which is, not many people knew about that. My father passed away in 1998, heart attack, when I was in London, and then I have to rush back. And then in 2003, all my father's wealth passed it to my mom, right? None of us get anything. In 2003, I asked my mom to make a will. Okay, I asked all my family members to make a will. I said we have to have a very clear instructions about what is next. I told my mom to give all the wealth to all my 4 sisters after she passed away. My mom is 85. Okay, touch wood. I want her to live forever. But eventually, when my mom passed away, all my father's wealth and my mother's wealth have to equally divided to my 4 sisters, because all my brothers were financially independent. We have been benefited from the society, from my family culture, and somebody deprived from something, we have to give them. So I try to equalize things. I don't want to make. I believe most of parents will be very happy when most of their children are equally well off. Than a few millionaires and few beggars. Who want this kind of outcome for family? I mean, all the parents want to have some equality within the family, right?
This you've captured some of this in your book, right?
Yep.
Because your book is really very honest expression of some of your own concerns, and you've even talked about the challenges of running a family business, right? Because there are certain expectations you have to meet and so on. But what's important is you also have certain observations about where our younger generation is going.
Right.
And linked to this whole issue of family and ties and priorities in life.
Because when I look at my nephews, nieces and all things, all those, we gave them a lot of right culture. But because the whole society has evolved into a different kind of society, that they start comparing with some things that is totally unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. However, I can't help, to observe that maybe our Singaporean youngsters really have a great sense of entitlement. They take things for granted. This is why, I want to tell you, some of the things that happened to me when I was younger. When I was in the US, I remember I took a marketing class. As a foreign student, as a Chinese educated foreign student, not many people want to take marketing class.
Yes.
And most of the Singaporeans, they would choose something that they are comfortable, not some things that they like.
Yes.
But I like marketing. I took the challenge. And then how I overcome, and I got a lot of A's in my grade point average is 3.94. So I miss only 1 or 2 subjects. Most of the subjects are A. How did I do that? Okay, I remember one of the marketing classes about presentation, last assignment, 20 minutes. And I wrote about 10 to 12 pages of material, presentation material. And for 2 weeks, I stand in front of a mirror, I just talk. Like idiot, which I am. I just couldn't practice. My roommate kind of, why I keep on, memorizing all the materials and try to, try to act as though I know a lot of things, but actually I memorized most of the things.
This is the problem being a Chinese helicopter. Chinese helicopter.
Correct. But at the same time, I want to compete with
yeah.
the American because the command of English and the way they talk is quite different.
Yes.
During the presentations, I gave a very good presentations without referring to any notes, and then I know all the things to show, And most of the American students took things for granted. They fumble. They have cue card. They can't really follow the sequence.
Yes.
And the professor said, these foreign students can do such a good thing as compared to your native speaker. I'm ashamed of you. And he made me a teaching assistant.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is why I have a PhD scholarship offer from a marketing professor and an accounting professor.
Wow.
But I didn't take up because I didn't want to be them.
Yeah,
I want to be Kenny Yap. Okay, so the moral of the story is, a lot of people think that they are very lucky to be successful. But behind the scenes, what kind of effort they put in? Okay, that's another story.
Yes.
That's this one. Before I went to the US, my father actually gave me a conditions that this is the money that he had for his retirement, and then he wanted me to pay him back with 15% interest.
Wow.
At that point, I was quite angry. I said, I thought all the Chinese parents supposed to send their children for further education. It's their obligations. So I took the offer, and I came back. Okay, 4 years courses. I did it in 2.5 years because I wanted to save the money. I got a scholarship from Dow Chemical, but my father continued to send me money. I just used the money to go around the US. So I came back, and then my father did not actually, ask about that. But I used different methods to pay my father back more than 10 times of what he gave it to me. So the takeaway of the whole thing, the moral of the story is, you need tough love to actually bring up more independence. The lack of tough love from many Chinese family or Asian families actually make their second generation or their whatever generations weaker, not tougher.
And softer.
And
would you say that in today's environment, you actually need to be even tougher? Because it's a lot more complex.
We need to have tough love for our strawberry generation, whatever, so that they understand. Don't take things for granted, and then allow them to flourish, allow them to do all the things, but don't give them all the help because they need to find the resources, to survive. This is when you pass away, of course they have to find their own thing. If not, they will not do anything. They wait for you to pass away and then take your money and continue to enjoy the life.
But Kenny, I mean, we have just about a couple of minutes left, but let me ask you this. How did we become this? Did we become this because success breeds softness?
This
right?
is
Success
why I'm
breeds
very
softness.
afraid that wealth will not last more than 3 generations. It happens in many Chinese families because most of the Chinese parents did not have this kind of tough love mentality. However, Singapore society is so very Asian, right? And I'm afraid that we are breeding a lot of this kind of weak, because we do not have tough love. And because of the political situations that we continue to give rather than to tell them that, okay, I'll give you enough support and please, help yourself. Something like John F. Kennedy said, maybe sometimes you have to ask the younger people, say, what can you do for the society or the country before the country can give you any welfare things?
But I think part of the challenge is government in society needs also to be prepared to let go.
Right.
And allow people to make mistakes.
Right.
You see what I mean? I think our system has been such that we are uncomfortable with mistakes. So when you give tough love, you must allow people to learn their own, fall down and learn how to pick up, right?
True.
That's part of tough love. But you need to allow people to fall down.
Right.
Right? Now, if you go to a playground today, honestly, if you go to a playground, you can see how our Singaporean-born parent with a kid will behave compared to a parent from mainland China or mainland India with a kid.
Right.
They have no problem with the kid falling down. The kid will pick himself up. But in Singapore-born, what happens? The helper will run, carry the kid. The kid is crying.
Not only that, they also expect the society to provide them this safety net.
Yeah.
Because I can quote you an example about I have this pond having a koi fish for people to feed, and then some parents feed. Very dangerous. You're supposed to give, fended the whole thing. Well, fended the whole thing. It lost the whole purpose of people feeding the fish and interacting with the fish. So it's a very different kind of mentality about how we bring up our children.
Yeah, and well, maybe with that, I'd like to end the interview. I wish we could have gone on for longer, but
yeah, we can talk about for more than 1 hour.
Yeah, we can go and talk separately. but let me ask you, if there's one inconvenient question that you want to ask Singaporeans, what would you ask? And tell it to the camera.
Okay, if we continue to educate our youngster in such a manner, how long do you think that Singapore can still be Singapore?
Wow, you sound like a politician.
Oh, I learned something from you along the way.
All right, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Kenny Yap, my Qianhu brother. And this has been IQ Hit List with Kenny Yap, who is executive chairman and managing director of Qianhu Corporation. Log in to our website www.iq.sg to watch out for our next IQ Hit List. Click the links to see our guests who have appeared on our previous episodes, and post your comments on social media and let us know if there's someone you would like us to interview on Hit List.